This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Welcome everyone to episode 409 of Just Joshing. I'm your host Joshua Pentalaresco. I write stuff in podcasts too, and today Jean-Marc Lederman joins the podcast. He is a musician, composer extraordinaire, and a hell of a cool dude. We had a fun conversation. It kind of went a little deeper than I expected it would go, and I mean that in the best way possible. He's got a great album coming out that I've been listening to called Letters to Gods and Fallen Angels. It's out now, and I'm going to be premiering a song from it very, very shortly, which I think you guys will dig. But before we begin, and before we really get rolling here, I had a week from hell. My computer, I'm a little late on this, so I was hoping to have this out Tuesday. It is Saturday, so I missed a few days, and I'm trying to get a lot of things rolling and going and stuff like that. And long story short, my computer had issues. I got some things I got to take care of in the long haul. But on the flip side, the good side is my audio business has begun, and I'm excited about that. I'm very, very excited about that, and I can't wait. I've already got my first client, and it's fun learning how to speak in science fiction. The challenge of being an audiobook in science fiction is making sure you get your terms right. I'm sure I'm going to be emailing my client a few times, like, is this the right way to say this? And I'll be probably throughout the whole process. It's been a lot of fun learning it. My webpage has been updated, so if you guys want me to do audiobooks for you, I can do audiobooks for you. But as you can see, this episode's a little special. So, I got a track to reveal here, and I can't wait to show it to you guys or reveal it to you guys. Christina Z is, I would have to say, probably my top 3 favorite podcasts this year. I really dug her. And it turns out Jean-Marc, part of the reason I met him was because I was trying to get her song. I really was impressed by what Christina said to me, and then I got to meet her and know her a little bit, so I wanted to get her song. So, it's really good. It's called 18 Minutes, and I really think it's worth it. And from there, we're just going straight into the conversation. Alright? Alright.
I'm not going down on my knees to talk to any of you, to beg you, or anything else most mortals do when they're desperate and need wishes fulfilled. I just want you all to know about the afternoon of May 7th, 1915, the sinking of the Lusitania. Our passenger ocean liner was torpedoed by an enemy of our ally. Children, fathers, engineers, nurses. All of us trying to get home or help those in need, swallowed down in the cold, demanding abyss. Where were any of you? You could hear our cries for help, gasping on the razor-sharp waves cresting over our heads and drowning us. Confusion, realization, devastation, and then suffocation. If you were sitting in your temples or molten caves, did you just watch all this happen? It seems like we're just tiny details to you. One of those details, in fact, was my lover aboard that ship, and she had already been through quite a lot with the destruction of her homeland. While we were all awaiting your judgment, horrifying mutilations overtook my lover's land. Children bayoneted, women stripped, torn apart, limb by limb, and the elderly staked to doors with knives. And you weren't even aware of the rape of Belgium. Or were you? My lover and I were aware of the risk as we boarded that ship. When the U-boat sent their torpedoes shredding the ship's body, it sank in only 18 minutes. engulfed by the ocean under a bright daytime sky. There's a different type of terror when you can see clearly the mangled remains of a passenger ship upended and hauling us beneath it. In terms of praying during war, I don't understand how it's received by you, because if we ask to live and our enemy begs for our death, then you're not helping either of us, are you? This war might have more quickly ended if it weren't for the vast amount of praying to gods for some kind of answer. In the midst of this mess made of steel, poison gas, and twisted human flesh, so many did pray to you. Only to receive silence. My beloved only by luck and not divine intervention survived. Although she fought with the might of her heart and soul, the soul some of you profess to protect, she would sustain terrible injuries and the sickening scenes would haunt her forever. While many were murdered that afternoon, it wouldn't be in vain. That particular atrocity would mark the decision for the United States to enter the Great War. No more trench madness, no more broken horses, months living in mud, bones, and blood. If we were never innocent to begin with, and still bound to make mistakes, at what point are any of you even helpful? My love and I were finally reunited, yet knew that this wasn't the war to end all wars, and that only future combat would arise. But for a while, we rested in tranquil embraces with the pride of knowing we had finally, in some way, won, without the help from any of you.
Okay, so I usually start like this. If you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
I don't quite follow you.
It's a joke. Basically, I say because we're on the air. We're doing a podcast, right? So I always try to break the ice. So the way I break the ice is I always say if you have something incriminating you'd like to say, make it good. Basically meaning that you're up to some kind of trouble. It's a joke, but
Sorry, cultural difference.
yes, no worries. Hey, that's it.
I plead the fifth.
You can totally plead the fifth. That's what this is all about. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. The weather is brilliant. It's sunny, and we are deconfined, so we can at last go out and while still be very careful. Going in the big world, which is better than it was 2 weeks ago, or more like 3 weeks ago, where you couldn't go out really. So it's much better.
It's opened up there bit by bit.
Oh yes, I mean the RO, the contamination figure in Belgium is below 0, which means that it's dying out slowly. If nobody makes stupid moves, it will stay below 1, which is a good number. It still means that if you're ill and you get it, it can be really bad, but the chance that you get it very low. To give you an idea, in Brussels, which is the capital of Belgium, there are about 1.2 million inhabitants, and today there were only about 10 contamination.
Which is controllable, very, very, very controllable. It's not.
Oh yeah, it's controllable, but it doesn't change much as the virus is still a fucking bitch, you know.
Yes.
It's really dangerous, and I get angry when I can see people mocking it, you know.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, every place is a little different, right? I'm in Windsor, Ontario, which is right near the American border. It's night and day. Like here, it's here, but it's not a big deal here at all, right? We're slowly opening up again ourselves. We're probably 2 weeks behind you, right? You guys have a lot more experience in handling viruses than we do, but
absolutely not. No. I mean, the experience is, I believe, is the same. But we have. You are on the American side, I believe.
No, I'm on the Canadian side. Thank goodness.
I don't know much about the health system in Canada, but in Belgium it's very developed. And we did confine ourselves quite a few months ago, early March. So it means that we took the train not too late. And even though there were lots of casualties, it was controlled. And the health system was never in crisis like it's been in the UK or it is in the US for the moment.
U.S. is a special case. They time traveled back to 1968 because the last time there was a pandemic in North America was in the 60s. And during the 60s, they protested much like they're doing right now. It's almost like a repeat. So
it is very stupid. I mean, I work in health, and so I'm talking with doctors and respected physicians every day, and it's something we don't know much about, but we have to be scared of. And one of the thing a doctor told me is every time somebody comes into ER here, we just saying Darwin. You know, they don't know who's going to come out of that. They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have no treatments, or very little treatments, and as long as there's no real treatments or a cure, a vaccine, it's going to affect the life of all of us on the planet.
What?
And doing it like they do it in the States, which is that they believe it's the virus knows about personal freedom. It's just telling you how dumb you are.
It's a philosophy difference, a big one. Like I said, Europe's has had a ton of experience with plagues, and from what I can tell, by and large, the UK might be the exception to this. I don't know. Like this is a culture difference with me. I don't fully know. The UK seems like a very extreme country, but outside of that, there's a general concern of well-being for the country. So everybody's there has experience and has an idea and at least how to deal with it, right or wrong. Here, like the United States is in comparison is a younger country. They don't have, and also a very extreme country right now. There's no, like you can tell that the government in the United States does not really give a crap about its people. And that's one of the reasons they're having the problems they're having right now. It's just so blatant. Here, I mean, we care. I think we're making mistakes here too, but not to the same degree as we've had 8,000 deaths here, right? Which isn't great, but it could be a lot worse. And like I said, with down there, like they might hit, based on what they're doing down there, they might hit 1 million people dead. It's possible. And
Yes, it is.
right, so that's kind of like it's and down there it's really hard because they don't have a social system related of any value, so a lot of people can't work. So if the virus doesn't kill you, you starve, right? If you're a small business, you can't work there the way you couldn't normally, and there's no real rent. I mean, some landlords are reasonable, but if you don't have a really reasonable landlord, you're kind of foobarred. That's life down there. And like I said, it's strange to be around a country like I don't know if you've performed there, but it's really strange to go to a country that you are very well aware that they don't give a shit about anybody but themselves, and very, very little bit about themselves. It's strange.
It is, but
What are you gonna do?
well, you can vote.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, yeah, Americans can vote. Like I'm hoping Ugh. Like I said, I think they're at the point they need to rethink how they do things. But I mean, I think that's true. Kind of the one positive that comes from this is like this year it feels like everything's on pause, right? Right. So it's like it's a chance to reflect. It's a chance to reevaluate how you do things, and maybe, hopefully, all of us make changes for the positive, personally, but also as a country, as a place to live.
Well, it's a crazy situation, but anyway, there's not much I can say about it.
No, well, there's not much. We're just gonna live through it. So,
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask this: like, you've obviously been making music during this time. But also, like, has there been anything you've since you've had probably a little bit more time to yourself? Have you tried learning anything new or do anything different?
I always do things that are new for me, or I try, because if I don't, I'm just so bored. So yes, I've been doing a bit more music, which is nice, but at the same time, you cannot record and have too many things ready because the labels can't follow. And especially now, the record business is very, very, very slow because everything was closed. But yes, I've done 3 projects in the last 3 months, and I just released one very big one. And so I'm, always between recordings and releasing. And this is now the period I hate the most, which is promoting.
Yes. Well, I figured out a way for myself, like how to actually make promotion more fun. Because, like, again, no one wants to. The last thing all of us want to do is go say, buy my shit. But I mean, it's part of the business. You can't escape it, right? So what I try to do is I try to tell stories in terms of getting people to buy stuff too. Because if I make it fun for me, the idea is I maybe make it fun for somebody listening to my pitch. Because the truth is, you work your ass off when you record and you perform your music, and if you sell yourself short on selling that, you sell yourself short on people listening to it.
Yes, that's true, but the problem is I'm usually quite shy. So for me, having to promote it is coming out of the woods, and it's a situation where I feel good on one way because I'm proud of what I achieved, but it's very complicated for me to do because I feel somehow too exposed. And with this new release, which is a very big release because it's artbook with 36 pages and 2 CDs with 24 artists, it's complicated because I decide to share a story every day, but it felt like it's just too much, too much to take.
Huh. So, so I'll ask a tough question. Is it a fear of rejection that you kind of feel overexposed, or is it a fear of success?
Well, it's somehow a fear of not being able to really express what I meant in a song. Of course, I'm having singers, and they are at the front and they are more exposed somehow, but I still believe that the end so-called product is not something that I can correctly explain to people. It's something that they have to experience. So it's a fear of rejection, yes, far more than a fear of success. I know what I do. I know what I do well. I know that I'm a good composer, even though I'm a bad musician. And so the problem isn't there. The problem is more in the fact that if it's a fear of not being able to come across enough people, so they do discover something new for them too, Because I've got a basic fan core, and I know that they will like it because they like my style, I would say. So it's trying to get newer audience, and that's complicated.
Yeah, well, we all have that challenge. Like, I just released my first novel, literally about 3 weeks ago, and one of the things I learned really quickly is that the promotion never stops. And I thought, well, that kind of blows on one hand, because again, you want to do other things. You want to use your creative energies to be more creative. Like, you want to write more music. I want to write more books. But to do the product we've put out there justice, we have to promote it. So, like I said, I try to tell stories with it. But the other thing too is I just remember why I did what I did. I can't do an experience. I can't completely describe the experience of reading my book, or you can't describe the experience of listening to your music. You have to hear your music to truly get the full experience. But what you can do is you can be enthusiastic about your music, or try to be as genuine about it as you possibly can. If you can do that, even though like I said, you're whatever your niche is your niche, and it's not going to be for everybody. But I've often found, like, with people, if people can feel your enthusiasm for what you're doing, they'll follow you. They'll at least give you a shot. Does that make sense?
Well, totally, because if you've been following what I've done for the last 2 months now, it's what I've been doing every day. Every day there was a little story about the song and about the singer and how he or she came to do it the way that he or she did it. So there were stories, and I'm very enthusiastic about what I do. It's just that 2 months is very tiring.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah, it never stops. So
I'm an old composer now, even though I feel young, but I have 40 years of this music industry behind me, so I know all the cycles and everything. And because I'm very proud of what I do, I have no problem promoting it, but it's just a complicated process in which you have to come out, maybe sometimes give out a little bit too much about yourself to little results, or to results that are not as big as you want them to be, or that you think they could be. So it's a complicated matter you have to deal with.
I understand where you're coming from there. Although I am curious about something you said. You said you're a good composer but a bad musician. Why do you say that?
Because I'm a bad musician. Because I'm telling you the truth. I'm terrible. I just know I just had tricks to come around the fact that I don't play very well, and lots of it is notes. Let's say that I compose a sequence of notes, and I do it in real time, and then I quantize it so it doesn't sound totally out of rhythm and everything. So I have technique, but I'm a bad musician. That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay. See, I know I'm a bad musician. You would pay me money to stop singing, not to actually sing or perform, because it's not my forte. So, but you've been so how long have you been? You said 40 years in the music industry. So you've been composing for 40 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you try to break in as a musician and then you just kind of stumbled into composing, or did you always start composing then you tried musician? Like, how did that all kind of come about?
Well, it came out with a different set of things. The first one is that I fell in love with Kraftwerk, and at the same time, when that was 75, I saw them live in 75, and a few years before that, I fell in love with the first records from Eno. So there you have an amateur musician who shows that you can make music without knowing about music, and there you have a German band who comes out with something which is totally new and with sounds I just adored, and that gave me the energy to come out and play my music and play in bands first, and then having the courage to make records of my own. So this is how I felt. The third part was that I'm very shy, and being in a band is a very cool way to meet girls. I'm going to be very honest about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Too, because the first part of the conversation was there, you know. So if you put those three elements, you have what happened in the brain of an 18 years old guy, you know, who's too shy go out and mingle with people and meet girls, and who's at the same time enthusiastic because he has heard great records by somebody who's not a musician but who make records, and who's very excited about totally new sounds that sometimes you're the first one to do.
Huh. I admire your honesty. That's actually so music's basically how you express yourself. Then it's your way of getting out around your shyness.
Not really. Music is a way where I feel very good, where I'm in my zone, like you when you write something. I'm in a zone of no doubts. I listen only to myself. I take no criticism. I don't have to. I know exactly what I want to do, or more to the point, I know exactly what I don't want to do. So for me, choices when I compose are very easy. I don't hesitate. So it's just something I'm very good at. I would say more. That's my way of communicating. I don't write lyrics, so I'm not exactly expressing what's happening in my brain. I'm just expressing how it feels when I have two different harmonies of rhythm getting together. But it doesn't mean that it is what happens in my brain. It just means that is something that I can do, and I'm not afraid to show results of that. But it's not, I mean, you couldn't say that, oh yes, I know his music, I know him. That's not true.
Okay. No, I bring this, let me change the perspective a little bit. What I mean is, for you, it's not. My sister's a visual, like she's a photographer, and and she draws. She is very comfortable talking because of her day job, but she's more comfortable like she's more comfortable drawing or taking a picture. It doesn't necessarily mean you know all her innermost thoughts. It's just her most comfortable way of communicating whatever the feeling or emotion, or it's easier to express it visually. Like maybe for you it's not necessarily your thoughts, but just it's where you are completely comfortable and completely confident being you is in your...
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
That's more like it. It's just a place where I'm with the years very confident about what I do, and I've no fear about that. I'm very surprised when my peers are talking about fear and doubts and questions and all those things I don't know. All those things I'm not putting them on the ground, and I'm not hiding them from me. It's just that my process now has reached a point where I have no more hesitations.
You know what your story is. I mean, for just like for me, when I write my books, I tend to I know what my basic story is. Now I might decorate it with all kinds of other things so I'd let the world build, but I know what my basic story is going in. I know what I'm going to tell. I know what's not important. Everything else doesn't really matter. And it sounds like for you've answered your own questions that way as a musician or as a composer. I should say. You know who you are, and you know who you're not. You know where you want to go, and I'm sure you get surprised from time to time because it does happen to us all. But
I always get surprised. It doesn't mean that there's no accident. I always get surprised. It's just the fact that I don't hesitate when I compose. I mean, there's no doubts in my mind when I have two tracks, let's say two layers. I know which one I want to keep, and I know which one I want to keep. And I always let accidents lead me. That's for sure. Yeah. But I don't question myself when I do that. Why would I? I mean, that's a zone where I feel good.
Well, no, it sounds like at some point in your life you made, like you said, you just came to total peace with yourself. It's like, you know what, I know I can do this. I know I've been here before, and it's a good zen to have as an artist. You're not getting in your own way of your work. You're just letting the work kind of speak for itself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that sounds really cool. So 40 years. So So this is where you are now. Were you always in this style of music, or did you start somewhere else at the beginning?
Well, I started a long time ago, end of the 70s. I was in a band, then left the band, and went to live in London for a while. I played with Fat Gadget live. I played with Matt Johnson. I played with Gene of Jezebel, and then I came back to Brussels and started bands over here. And I've been always involved in electronic creation of music, but not all of my music is with synthesizers, but they're all based around writing tracks and adding things one by one, layers and layers, whether it was in electropunk, I would say, at the beginning, or and then post-punk, new wave, and then electropop, and then industrial music in the mid-80s with the Weatherman, industrial, EBM, also called EBM, and then going to different style of music in the 90s with some ambient, some chill-out music, some metal music also, and then going to more a genre which is called future pop, which is an assemblage of industrial music with pop sensibility. And then these last years I've been doing more and more collaboration because I don't work just with one singer. So it's kind of music I've been developing for years and years, and I do have my palette of sounds now. And my problem sometimes is that I'm inside so many niches that I'm outside of so many niches. Like when I do a hip-hop track, the people I know and the people who know me because of my industrial background, they're kind of, what the fuck is that? and when I work with a hip-hop artist from Mexico and I send him a backing tape, which is industrial music with hip-hop rhythm, he says, what the fuck is that? So I'm used to disturb the people I work with because I'm asking them to come out of a comfort zone. Which is funny because I'm in my comfort zone when I do that. But I know that I need them to come out and do something different because it's like a one-off. It has to be the best what they can do given a situation which may not be easy at the beginning. And the result of doing that is always that they feel totally liberated at doing something they don't do with their usual bands. Because the usual band is in a niche. So by fighting the system of niche, I help myself and I help everybody I work with, or I hope I do.
It sounds to me like you get the best of all worlds doing it this way, because what you're doing is you're also expanding your own musical vocabulary and knowledge, because you're collaborating with people all the time and they have their own approaches, and you're comfortable enough with yourself to be like, hey, let's just try something new. And at the same token, you're pushing everybody, like as you say, outside their own comfort zones, so you actually force them to get better. So everybody comes out of the experience a much better performer, musician, composer than when they walked in.
Well, this is usually what they say to me when the track is done, but it's not always easy. I mean,
no.
Working with one singer is complicated enough. Imagine working with 3-4 singers, like on the last record. It's a logistical nightmare, but at the same time, the satisfaction is so brilliant because I get to communicate with people. And this is, that comes back to your question about, is that you speaking through the music. It's not me speaking with the music, but it's me speaking with the people. And through music, it's easier for me.
It sounds like it sounds like you're at a very satisfying point in your career. Like you're at that point where it's like I'm having fun and I'm getting and you're meeting. It sounds like you're meeting new people all the time as well. Is that accurate?
Well, yes, it is very accurate. It's also because I started in an era where you couldn't, when you were doing electronic music, you needed instruments that were quite expensive, and then they became a bit less expensive. But you still had to go to a studio and find a label and having all those things that cost money. And now you can buy an iMac second hand and it costs you $1,500. And you buy Logic, Logic Pro, whatever, and it costs you $200. So you've got about a couple of plugins games, and you've got for $2,000 something which is worth so much because you can do whatever you want with it. If you can't make music in 2020 with an iMac, it's just not your thing. Just stop, I mean, it's all about imagination. It's not about equipment.
No,
yes, I'm in a very good spot in my composer life because I have the right equipment, which is very little. I have the right frame of mind. I do have a few connections. I do have a name, and I'm respected by my peers. So yes.
No, it sounds to me like you loved it when we got into the digital age. Like, oh yes, I don't have to look for this obscure piece of equipment to get this sound anymore. I can just download the sound somewhere and use it as I need to, which is.
Well, it is true, but that's part also of this wave of nostalgia about equipment that exists for the moment, which is very stupid because although some of those old instruments sounds great and looks brilliant because they're beautiful objects, the palette of sounds is still quite limited. At the same time, the newest synthesizers mean nothing. I saw an advert for a new one. They have on that new one there's 7,000 patches you can save. 7,000. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, who wants that? Why not having just 256 and choose between the ones you really want?
Because you see, you're wise enough to realize that you only need X amount of colors to paint your canvas. Lots of people, when they get started, it's like, oh, I can do this, and it's like, well, yeah, but what's the story you're trying to tell, or what's the song you're trying to sing, or what's the song you're trying to compose, right? You cut through all the BS. You're like, okay, this is what I want. How can I get there, right? And what's the easiest way for me to get there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And I've been doing it in different sectors. So like I've been doing movies for video games a lot when people weren't doing music for video games, and I've been doing some movies, and so I'm quite experienced in quite a few domains of making music. So somehow I had to cut the bullshit because you don't make music for video games the same way you make simple music. It needs to respond to different stimulus. It needs to express something different. It needs to be remarkable because I want my music to be remarkable. But at the same time, in video games, it must not be remarked by the player, because if the player remarks the music, he's going to put it lower. So you have to be very careful about how expansive you want to be about your music. Maybe it's not the right time now. And in movies it's the same thing. You have to get used to the fact that the director is probably going to put your music very low in the mix anyway. So it's all these interaction with different niche of different sectors of the music industry made me very how can I say, humble about the fact that sometimes you have to disappear behind the music and you have to think about the person who's in front of the music.
Well, it's funny you mentioned video games and movies because they do have one thing in common, which is the thing like music. Okay, don't get me wrong, there are some soundtracks in video games that are incredible, but every sound in a video game is about the idea of the tone of the game you're playing. Right, everything in there serves that purpose. So the music isn't the main experience, right? Same in a movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's moments when music can really enhance a scene or an emotion or a connection, but it's not. Again, the music is serving the larger canvas. And when music's its own thing, you can tell amazing stories just with sound. Like I said, I've been doing podcasting for a while now. But the thing I'm amazed at is I'm still just even now realizing there's so much more I could do with the sound of a podcast if I had the right music or I told the right story, or there's so much potential with just sound as an experience unto itself that I'm still like, I imagine even though you've been doing this for a long time, there's still things you're like, whoa, that's cool. I never thought about doing that way before.
Mm-hmm. Yes. have to react towards the environment you are in, you know. So you learn.
Yeah. So that all said, I mean, you definitely. So if I may ask about your current record, why did you want to go with, like, why did you choose, like you said, you collaborated with like 24 different artists. Why did you choose this path with this particular project?
Well, I don't want to make records that are mundane or boring and in a genre and just like will give you exactly what you need and what you want. I want to surprise people, and I want to surprise myself, and I want to surprise the people I work with. So I want to make things that are bigger than life somehow. And it's the third record with that kind of concept. It's a third concept album, I would say. The first one being the last broadcast on Earth, where the tagline is, you drive your car on a deserted road at night and there's only one radio station playing. What's happening? I mean, is that the end of the world? Is there going to be a war in the morning? And so I called a few friends and asked them to compose on the idea that this would be their last song. The second one being last year, which is 13 Ghost Stories, and there the tagline is, the red line was, you can come back to Earth as a ghost for 24 hours. What do you do? And all the singers replied different ways. Some, they just want to, to fly around. Some wants to see their loved one for the last time. Some wants to take revenge. And this one, which is Letter to Ghosts and Fallen Angels, is about, you can write a letter to a god or a fallen angel. What do you say? And by using concepts and pitch that are like this, I get my collaborators to really go for something they don't usually do, because the theme itself, the concept itself, make something important for them, making it very personal. And when it's personal, it's worth something. The experience is worth something.
I actually very much agree with that. Yeah, so you definitely value imagination in your work, and not just your work, but the people you work with.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I need to feel energized by the people I work with, and I need to feel that they are responding well to exactly what I want them to do. And sometimes it takes time, and for some it took them only 2 days. But I have a very precise idea of where I want to go and how I want to do it. And also the fact that I don't want people to bullshit me. So I'm very fast on saying people, well, this won't work, or on the contrary, this will work, but try again. But usually the first draft is always the good one.
Huh. So it's almost like, if I'm wrong, correct me on this. But it's almost like, for you at this point too, the music, especially in North America, is very formulaic. Europe tends to be a little bit more experimental, but it has its own formulas too. At this point, it sounds like your formula is basically to challenge the conventions with imagination.
Well, it's I try not to put too much in the music, because I want brain to do the last meter. The brain of the listener has to make its own and the painting its own way. But at the same time, I like making arrangements, so I give clues about where I want to go. And I'm getting better at giving the right clues, so people who listen get the right idea of what I was really trying to achieve.
Sounds cool. So I think we have a pretty good interview here. So I'm gonna ask a really evil question, and then we're gonna get to the fun of promotion. So who have been your favorite people you've worked with? I'm sure there's a big list, but I mean, off the top of your head right now, like, what have you enjoyed in the last little bit, especially maybe in the last little bit?
Let me take the back over and see. I really enjoy working with Christina Z, because the music, I used a piece of music that I made for a movie 3 years ago, but which was, of course, instrumental. And for that one, I asked Christina Z, she's the writer for Witchblade, to come up with a story about Write a Letter to a God. And she came up with the most amazing story, which collides totally with the track, and the result is amazing, I think. The next one, Lucia Fairfull, I really like the track I did with her. She's a punk singer from Scotland, and I came with an Italo disco song for her. And she kind of freezed at at first, and then I contacted her again a couple of weeks later, and she said, "Yeah, I'm gonna like it." And she just renewed herself totally for that track, and the result is, I think, really nice. So that was the second part. I really enjoyed doing that, and I like the track with Emily Roan from Chiasm. It's a US band. It's a lady from the US. And a funny thing happened there. I sent her a musical background, an instrumental track, and she did her song. She sent it back. But in that meantime, actually somebody else I sent the track to, and I forgot completely about it, made something with it. So I had to change Emily's background track. And I changed totally the music beyond her voice. Totally. And usually when you do that to a singer, he or she hates it. They hate that.
Yeah.
Like putting the carpet away. It's really destabilizing. And she loved it. And she thought that was really cool to come up with something totally new. So she was surprised. So those are three of the people I really enjoyed working with. But everybody is on this record, the 24 tracks and the 3 novels. It's just every time a different experience, and every time it's a very rewarding one.
Which?
I mean, I could quote every track on this album, really, and I could give you stories about every track. So it was a vicious question, but I answer.
No, it's okay. No, like I said, usually I have interviewed some musicians, but like this is my first time interviewing a composer such as your stature. And I was like, okay, so let's see if I can like my favorite question to ask an artist is what's his favorite thing to draw. But asking you what's your favorite thing to compose is silly because you've done so much that it's like, yeah, that's not going to do it. But your collaborations, especially with kind of your approach, it's refreshing actually to me to actually think that like this is how you're doing things. And I admire the fact that you're very bold and you have a clear vision of what you want. So, I mean, my respect, man. Like you've done some good stuff. Actually, you've done a lot of good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I think, Mr. Jean, we have an interview here. What do you think?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I'm always open to answer whatever question you want. As you know now, I'm quite open, and if I want to answer something, I won't answer it. But chances are that I will always answer it.
Yes. Well,
it's just I understand the privileged position I'm in, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy the fact that people are usually very open to what I propose to them, and that labels still want to release my work. So I'm very excited about doing that. And I'm very excited and happy about my mental position about it. After years and years of work, I have finally been able to cut all, doubts off and all questions off about what I do, and just concentrate on being able to produce what I want and to get to the results I want. So, it's a unique position, and I know many artists who are looking for this kind of comfort, but this kind of comfort wasn't easy to get to.
No.
It has been, I've done 7 years of psychotherapy, and I confronted my own demons, and I live with panic attacks sometimes, and I realized that in fact it is the burden of most people on the planet, but somehow I'm now equipped and I can look into the eyes of whatever happens, and I understand the veil, the 1 millimeter veil between you and reality that is a panic attack. and for me, they don't transform themselves in full-blown panic. And I think that has helped me in my artistic life also, by facing choice and having no hesitation about choice. When an artist usually hesitates so much in front of choice, but he has to understand that it is a privilege to being able to decide between I take this way or I take that way, and you have to cut yourself from the possibility of going back. You have to boldly go and just taking it where it takes you, and just random events, even in electronically music, composed music, has to be able to take you to places you haven't been there before, and to make it your own.
Okay, we could definitely go in another direction here for sure. You understand how fragile things are, and a way to.
I was at the lowest, and I had a gigantic nervous breakdown when I was about 35, and that took me months to get out of that, and years then of therapy to really understand why the fuck does this happen to me, because I think I'm a strong person, but I'm not. And I've seen myself in such low state that I appreciate totally now the liberty and freedom of being able to control your brain.
It's you faced your mortality. I did that when I was 25. I was in a really rough spot in my life, and I literally came face to face with the Reaper, and it was like, oh crap, one day this is all going to be gone. And I just realized I'm not very strong. But then I just realized, well, this is all I got. This is what matters. And I stopped giving myself permission to stop. I just keep going. Because one day, it's all going to, one day, things will go in I will be stopped doing this, and my time will be up. So I can't hesitate now, because if I hesitate now, I'm never going to go where I want to go.
Yeah, I think that's the right attitude. You don't ask yourself. You responded and you answered many questions to be able to come to a point where you don't have to answer them anymore, because you know. And the fact that we are mortal and that all this can go out in flame in 1 second, of course, should push us to go for it. The thing is, there are still sides of me I don't know and I don't understand, and I'm surely not a very good person, 100% of the time. But I'm able now, and I've been able for a few years, to respond to crisis with an attitude that is positive and that takes me above the problem, and to respond to the problem with what I'm best at, which is I'm an artist. I can give people views into worlds they don't know, and I'm going to do that. The other side also is that I know very well where I can resource myself, and that's very important. I'm a avid motorbiker. I love motorbikes. I ride motorbikes, and that is my own meditation. And when I take my bike, when I come back, I'm refreshed and I can start all over again. It's very important to be able, when you're an artist, to know your good zone and your bad zones, and the zones where you can resource yourself.
Absolutely. No, it's important to know when you need a break, when you need to stop. Just for your sanity. That all said, especially in a time like this, the biggest thing I remembered, the most important thing I remembered is your stories, your music, your pictures, the art at the end of the day, doesn't matter what your discipline is about an expression of hope, because basically you're going out there, you're communicating to somebody, here I am, and you're hoping somebody will read and listen, or see, or somebody will be on the other side receiving it, and that is ultimately a hopeful thing, and it's important to actually have that, not just giving but receiving. And so what we do, even though again it may not solve all the problems in the moment, it can give a reprieve for people to actually keep going, which is very, very important.
Well, something funny happened once. It was a long time ago. It was 1984. I was playing a gig in Brussels at the very famous Blanquet, and it was in a band called King Montana, which was me and an American singer who went actually after that to sing with the Magnetic Fields. And we had that song called Fitting the Screen, for which actually I wrote terrible lyrics, but anyway it was kind of a nostalgic, melancholic song which I wrote when I was 24. What can you be nostalgic about when you're 24? But anyway, I was playing the song and there was a couple in the crowd just in front of me, and I could see at one point the girl put her face on the shoulder of her partner. And I thought, oh fuck, I mean, this is exactly what it means. This is exactly the kind of thing that I can, give to people, I gave somebody an emotion, and that emotion translated in something good that she gave to somebody else. And it's not about power, it's not at all about power, it's just about the fact that you have a gift as an artist. If you don't use it, it's a waste, You have to understand your role in a society, you have to understand your role as a human, and you have to give. And for me, it was very important from that, that moment to try to have not too much doubts about what I was trying to do, because I experienced what it was to be giving something.
And what you gave was valuable, and you realized that. And
it was valuable for that couple, for sure. For 1 minute, they had a closer encounter. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do a motivational thing every day. So my motivation for the day was, you don't need power to stand up to darkness. Small acts of generosity and kindness by kind people decimate just as well. And the idea is little things dispel the darkest nights, and it's not. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be a small thing.
Yes, absolutely. It's a little detail. I'm a strong believer in the waving effect, the domino effect of being a good person. I'm very aware of the fact that when you drive your car, if you stop for a car that comes on the right and you let that person pass, that person is going to feel good about it, and chances are that he or she will do the same in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You can do small things and it makes big waves.
Absolutely. I for this time, I think the best thing I've done, and I've been doing this almost every day. Last couple of days I took a break because I had a deadline, but I basically go to 10 random people and just tell them why I appreciate them. It's amazing the responses I've gotten just doing that.
Absolutely. It's being good makes you feel good and makes others feel good, and they're going to make other people feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically, and it doesn't take much to say hello. It really doesn't. It's actually amazing how such a small thing can change a whole day. So, wow, you're a cool dude, man. You're really cool.
Thank you. Another thing, we were talking about artists and about techniques and about how you cannot hesitate when you have 2 layers or 2 waves opening in front of you. You have to take one and don't look back. The other thing I found very important, and I've been applying that for quite a few years since I discovered that, the white page. Everybody's talking about white page and how much they just, when it happens, they just look at this screen of the computer and it can't go on, or we try again in logic and the song doesn't come together. I discovered that it works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me. When that happens, when you have such a catalog of music that you've done and things that you realized, a white page is nothing. You just switch off and go and watch a TV series and just do something else. Open a book, go for a walk. It doesn't matter. It's not personal. You have to, sometimes not being able to do something, it's only going to make the next so-called performance after that just better. You have to be cool about the chance you are of being able to produce something, but it doesn't happen every day, and you have to understand that and not taking it personally every time it happens. So many of my friends are just devastated because they can't make a song for the last 3 days. So what? Fuck it, Watch a movie, I don't know. Just do something else. It doesn't mean that you were just lucky to be able to do something at one stage in your life,
It's the zen of doing nothing. I'm releasing. My goal is to release 3 books this year. 2 of them are done. I'm working on the 3rd one right now. I don't work on it every day, and I don't feel bad about that because honestly, I don't need to work on it every day. My job is my job is to do the best I can to be in a position to be productive. That doesn't necessarily mean though that I'm going to, as they say, the souffle sometimes rises, sometimes it falls. But it's okay. You don't get the cool thing about life is you don't get the same result every single day. You don't necessarily need, like for writers, we set usually word counts. You don't need to actually hit that word count every day. The important thing is you tried. The important thing is you went forward, because even just in the effort, you go forward, right? And if it doesn't work that day, read a book, take a walk, hit on a pretty woman, whatever. Good.
Yeah, and there's a very good test to know if what you just did yesterday was good. Is when you listen to it or when you read it and you think, I didn't write this or I didn't compose that. And when it's outside, what you think you're capable of doing, it means that you've better yourself and you've done something which stands.
I sometimes, I read sometimes stuff younger me wrote, and sometimes like you cringe, because obviously I'm sure even with you, like early music you did, it's like, oh, I cringe. But every once in a while you'll get like this moment, like, okay, you were brilliant here. That was actually good, right? It's still good. So I mean, I think as you get older / wiser, maybe wiser, I'm not sure. You just come to understand that you can't do it perfectly out of the park every day, and you're not supposed to.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
The important thing to do is use a baseball analogy. Just step up to the plate. That's your job. Everything else will work out, or it won't.
Yeah, do something else. I mean, it's not personal. It can happen tomorrow. It can happen in next week. And that's the way it goes. You must you must take a distance from yourself when that happens. You must just say, okay, fuck it, I'm going to enjoy myself doing something else, and I will come back to that novel, or I will come back to that song tomorrow. Exactly.
And I guess our big advice to everybody listening to this is simply this: it's okay not to succeed that day. Just keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not okay to never succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing is, you being able, knowing you can do something is good, but making other people aware that you can do it is also very important. And that somehow contradicts what I was saying about doing the promotion of something. But at the same time, it's quite true. The job doesn't finish when you wrote the last chapter or you wrote the last song. You have to being able to talk about it with people and trying to make them understand. You're not going to read or listen to something which is mundane and boring and that you heard or read 10,000 times before. You have to make them aware that this is going to be a very personal experience for you and something is going to come out of that. So it's, I have different feelings about different stage of producing work, and this is why I decided to cut the process into the process of creation, which is totally 100% free, and there's the process of promoting it and making people aware of your work, which is 100% slavery.
Yes.
So, but you have to do it. You have to do both. You have to do both.
Yeah, well, no, it's just, yeah. I mean, there's nothing, and there's no such thing as a perfect process. You have to be willing to put the work in, and for most artists, the work's the promotion, not the creation. And that is always the way it is. If you can find a way to be comfortable in the promotion, that's the best, because at that point, nothing bothers you. But if it's something you struggle with, well, it's okay to struggle with it. It's not, again, it's not a what's the put. You don't have to like everything about what you do. As long as you can actually show up and do the work. At the end of the day, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, actually, sometimes I'm quite, even though I don't like promotion, I've been enjoying talking with you for about an hour, and that doesn't put me in trance or doesn't make me angry or nervous because I enjoyed it. But at the same time, it's so far retrieved from what I'm best at, and that's not talking about it, that's doing it.
And I totally get that, and I'm going to let you get back to doing it in a second. But before we go, first off, man, thank you for this. This was awesome, and I appreciate it. Second, why don't you tell people about your album specifically, where they can find it, and how people can find you?
Well, so the last record is called Letter to Gods and Fallen Angels, and it's out on a Belgian label called Woolly Disc, which is pick up a website. It's on Bandcamp, or you can buy physical, which I think you should, because the picture and artwork from my wife Erika is absolutely superb. And I've got a website, gmlederman.com, which is not too outdated, although I should update it. So, well, if you want to know more about what I do, I'm quite easy to reach.
That was my conversation with Jean-Marc Lederman, ladies and gentlemen. Check out Letters to Gods and Fallen Angels, and links in the description below. Honestly, it's a great album. I was amazed at the different stories told by the various creators in there. Jean-Marc, you composed an amazing album, man. And you're welcome to come back anytime you want, man. I really, really dug getting to know you. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So, a couple more little bit of housekeeping things. I pushed back Alice Zero 2 weeks because of this week. I couldn't promote it the way I wanted it to, so I'm kind of just, I'm going to push it back just 2 weeks just because I want to make sure I get it right. Doing a lot next couple days to get everything set up for the next month. I pushed some things back until everything's kind of settled in. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to link to my audio business in the description below as well, so you guys want to check out what I do and my rates, and you can definitely do that. Outside of that, yeah, I think we have a good episode just joshing here, so that'll do it for this episode. Do you want to support the podcast? You can support it a number of different ways. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. I'm also on Weezer. I'm on. I think I figure out where my French audience is coming from. So hi guys, nice to see you. You can find me there. You can support my books. I own The Cloud Diver, which is currently published on Amazon exclusively. It'll be going wide October 4th. Alice Zero, which will be Amazon exclusive for when it is released, which will probably be the first week of September. I'm pretty certain it's going to be the first week of September, barring another crazy week like last. But yeah, so support my books, order my books, buy my books, they'll be out. I'm on iTunes. I already said that. I'm on Instagram, Twitter at jpenteloresco. My YouTube channel is Josh Penteloresco. I have some streams from When Words Collide up there. I'll talk about those on the next podcast. Outside of that, my merchandise is available. My newsletter is available on the description below. Come say hello. Let me know what you think. Listen to this album. It's great. Stay inspired. Ride through the chaos, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're in right now. Let's just get to the other side. All right? See ya next time.
Josh.